Kim Castle. You're watching kimTV, where you discover how to live agelessly. There is so much information available to you today. I mean, you just type in anything you want into Google and boom, you've got hundreds of different responses to it, and sometimes it's amazing. Like, I recently attended the Healthy Gut Summit online that was filled with tons of amazing doctors and experts all around the topic of gut health. And sometimes it's overwhelming because any one of those doctors, you could drill into any of their details and their expertise, especially for somebody like me. I've recently come to the understanding that I am obsessive. I don't have OCD, but when I get a hold of something, I tend to want to dive into it. So Google is perfect for me because there's hundreds of different things that I could research about any one thing, like bone broth that I shared in my last video. And so I started doing all this research on bone broth and the different ways to make it and why it's so great for you, which, by the way, it's proline and glycine, which are some of the building blocks of amino acids, which is the building block of protein, which is why we start losing our hair and getting wrinkles, and cellulite, because as we get older, our amino acids and our protein reserves and our collagen reserves start to dwindle. That's why bone broth to the rescue. Then if you layer on this other thing that I discovered about myself recently, well, not recently, but I'm starting to understand its ramifications, is that I am a perfectionist. So I have that obsessive behavior to dive fully into something, and my perfectionism, meaning that I won't let it go until I think it's perfect. And of course, if you're a perfectionist like me, there's never perfect. There's always more that you can do and bring to something. Well, anyway, I think my bone broth that I made on the last video came out perfect. The first time. Go figure. Probably because I did all that research. But so I wanted to give you a little update on how it came out. So I let it sit on the stove for, actually called for 24 hours, but I'm an overdoer, so I let it cook for 48 hours. At 24 hours, I did take out the vegetables and a good part of the chicken meat that was like falling off the bone, and I left the bones and the chicken feet in the stock, and I let it cook on low for another 24 hours. So after 48 hours, I had this broth, and you can see it had a lot of, you know, the color changed, and you can see the feet still floating around in there. And then I had to strain it. I had to pour out the feet and get the broth and put it in containers and store it away in the refrigerator. Now, bone broth will store freshly up to 3 to 4 days in your refrigerator. After that, because there's no preservatives, it'll start to turn. So if you make a big batch, you want to store in probably 3 or 4 days worth of broth, and put the rest in the refrigerator or the freezer in containers, so that you just take out the next container, which is what I did. And I have to say, you know, it's amazing. When you store it in the refrigerator, you'll see when you take it out, it's all kind of gelatinous. It's kind of like Santa Claus, and he shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. You can see it kind of is all gelatinous. Now, if I didn't know it was good for you, I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. I mean, it looks kind of lardy and gross. Now, also, when you're straining your broth, the fat rises to the top, and some people say you can strain it off if you're concerned about fat. I left it on because I also heard that it's really good. Fat is really good for your brain. And, you know, if you're obsessive perfectionist, I could use some help with my brain. So I kept the fat in. And then as I've started having it every single day. In fact, I start my day with some broth. And you can see it's, when you heat it up, it gets to this like rich golden, it almost looks like butter, like movie theater butter. It's this golden, it looks like liquid gold. probably is just as valuable. And so I've been drinking this every morning. I start my day, so I'm also sharing it with my dog, and I've become so attached to it that I actually want to shout it from the rooftops and share it with everybody of this incredible find that our great-grandmothers knew several generations ago, that how amazing it is to drink broth made from chicken and beef bones and things like that. And what I've noticed is definitely I have a sense of feeling full in the morning. I've also researched and said that you really want to get some protein in you within the first hour. Now, of waking up, I don't like eating when I first wake up. I have too many things to do. I'm off to yoga or doing something else that I tend to not like to eat. I've also read other things that said you don't want to eat food except for fruit up until noon because of the way our bodies are processing or what our bodies do throughout the day. So to me, drinking broth is a great way to get some of the protein in and not put a whole lot on my stomach, and it tastes amazing. It really tastes amazingly good. And I noticed that, one, I feel full from the get-go, so I'm not kind of on that kind of empty in the morning, especially when I go to yoga or work out. I feel full and fortified and energized. I also noticed, I've been doing it for a couple of days now, and my weight has dropped a few pounds. I think it's because my body is actually feeling like it's being fed. And so it's not having to hold on to the morsels that I give it, is holding on for dear life. It's actually feeling that it's being fed. So that's pretty good. I can't see a change in my cellulite yet. I think, but you know, it's only been a couple days. I have high expectation. So it's only been a couple of days, but I will keep on cellulite watch and let you know. So anyway, so it's really good to heat it up, or this is room temperature and it tastes just as good. It's like drinking liquid sunshine. It's so delicious. A word of warning: when you dispose of your chicken feet, you don't want to leave it in the garbage, because you know how feet have a tendency to stink? Well, cooked chicken feet stink even worse. And I made the mistake of leaving it in the garbage can overnight, and it was not a nice smelling room when I got up. So highly recommend that you get the chicken stuff out of your house, compost it, or get it in the garbage, because it will take away all of the fun. Anyway, that's my experience with making bone broth for the first time. I can say that it's going to be a staple of mine every week. In fact, I just took out a chicken to make another batch tonight. It's going to definitely be something that I do on a weekly basis. Not only did I have broth every morning, sometimes I'll have it a little bit again for lunch, but I also had the chicken that I cooked in there. I had the chicken and vegetables for several meals, and so in one fell swoop I've got the 1-2 punch. So highly recommend it. Would you ever consider cooking chicken broth with chicken feet, or have you cooked chicken broth? I'd love to know, or any kind of bone broth. I'd love to know your secrets in the comments below. Kim Castle. I like to be watched. I also like to touch people. Have I touched you in any way? Let me know about it. And keep it clean, or at least organic.